Second.
Okay, I'll go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's CMO Executive Forum, which is created exclusively for CMOs and senior marketers like you, where we'll be discussing how cultural relevance can be measured to drive business and sharing how you can do this for your brands. I'm Meg Wibbenhorst, and I work in the CMO Master Circle group at the ANA. And if you're watching this private webinar, you are part of our community along with 1,400 other CMOs. So here at the ANA, our North Star is the growth agenda, which is a framework of 4 growth priorities for our industry. Brand, which is revolutionizing modern marketing into brands for humans. Data, which is driving transparency and harnessing the power of technology for growth and good. Talent, which is developing high-performing, diverse talent at all levels, from CMO, CEO, all the way down to entry level. And society and sustainability, which is creating positive impact on society in a way that drives growth. Lisette, you can go ahead and start the presentation if you're able. So in order to drive these priorities forward, we created a Global CMO Growth Council, which you are a part of if you're on this call, which are teams of CMOs and industry leaders who are working together to accelerate global economic and societal growth. So on October 19th of last year, over 300 CMOs came to our CMO Summit, where we shared actionable plans with the objective of driving incremental growth opportunities for you, your companies, and the industry at large. So we'd love for you to be more involved. And there's 2 ways that you can immediately become more involved. As a senior leader, you can join one of the Global CMO Growth Council working teams. Again, that's brand, data, talent, or society and sustainability. And share your leadership, your insights, and your inputs to drive our industry initiatives and growth agenda forward. So you can check out our website at anamastercircle.com for more information and a list of our upcoming events. The second is to join the Global CMO Exchange, which is shown here on your screen. Now, this is created by CMOs for CMOs. It's a private peer network where in order to join the exchange, you will share 3 areas of expertise. From there, you'll get access to 100 other CMOs who've shared their expertise. So areas of expertise can be anything from alignment in the C-suite, B2B marketing, DEI, programmatic media, brand purpose, and over 25 other skills. So if you have a challenge, if you're part of the exchange and you have a challenge or a situation in your organization or just a skill that you want to get better at, if you're part of the exchange, you can identify others of your peers who are experts in that particular area, and we will connect you, sort of like a professional match.com for CMOs. So we have over 100 CMOs participating so far. We'd love for you to join and contact us if you'd like to get involved. So moving ahead to the next slide. At our CMO Summit in October, which I know a lot of you attended, one of the mandates that we outlined for our industry was to eliminate bias and racism by accurately portraying all humanity in advertising, content, and media. It's a big goal. For today's session, we will be speaking about one of the ways you can measure your ads for cultural relevance and respectful portrayals of diverse segments. We encourage interactive questions during this session. So if you have a question, please post it in the Q&A or the chat, and after the presentations, we'll prompt you to ask your question. So I'd like to introduce our speakers for today. First up is Lisette Arsuaga and Carlos Santiago, who are 2 of the founders of our ANA's Alliance for Inclusion and Multicultural Marketing, otherwise known as AIMM, who will talk about how to drive accurate representation in our industry. And they'll also talk about a tool called CIMM, and we'll share the acronym with you later, which is a standard industry measure for cultural relevance, and then show you some examples of ads that scored highly using this measurement and some that didn't, and why. And we are also thrilled and honored to have Gail Horwood, CMO of Kellogg North America, here with us today. Gail has been using CIMM within Kellogg's and will share how she operationalized and integrated it within her teams and supply chain, as well as her key learnings. So we're really glad to have her here today. As you know, it's great to hear examples from other CMOs. So without further ado, Lisette, take it away.
Thank you, Meg, for the invitation to join you with the Global Growth Council at the ANA today. We are truly thrilled to be here to share the impact of the work of AIMM, as well as the importance of CIM in the industry today. It's been a year of incredible growth for AIMM in so many ways. It's been a year for our industry to be more introspective and to address the challenges and inequities that exist until now. AIMM has helped drive many of these efforts thanks to the support and leadership of so many of our members. As some of you may know, AIMM was founded 4 years ago with the mission to create a powerful voice that elevates multicultural and inclusive marketing to promote business growth in an increasingly diverse marketplace. The part about business growth was very important to us when we decided what the mission was going to be, because we wanted marketers to understand that we wanted to prioritize or reprioritize multicultural and inclusive marketing to elevate growth, to maximize growth for companies. This was not about the right thing to do, it was about the smart thing to do. This mission 4 years later is more prevalent than ever before as our nation continues to become more diverse, and companies experiencing growth are doing so because they've prioritized these important segments. That's because we count on the commitment and support of 130 member organizations who are sharing with us their brightest minds and their most committed executives in order for us to reach our goals and attain equity for all. Our members are comprised of advertisers, agencies, both specialized agencies and general market agencies, media and research companies, nonprofits, and trade associations. We focus on the challenges and opportunities evident for Hispanics, Blacks, Asian Americans, LGBTQ persons, and people with disabilities. We take extreme pride in our board of directors composition, commitment, diversity, and leadership. We count on the leadership of America's most committed CMOs to help ensure that the work we do at AIMM is not about preaching to the choir, but about bringing the C-suites on board and ensuring the work we do is aligned with the strategies and the priorities of corporate America today. Most recently, John Dillon, Alicia Enciso, and Paul Alexander took the reins of the board, with John becoming our new chair and Alicia and Paul becoming first and second vice chairs for the next couple of years. Today, I'm proud to be here today with our newest board member, Gail, CMO at Kellogg North America, who's accepted our invitation to join our board. I'm not going to go into a lot of the work that we're doing at AIMM. I encourage you to learn more about AIMM at our website, anaaimmm.net. But I want to talk to you about our CL movement, because our CL movement has reached over 1.4 billion individuals in the last 6 months alone, and has been driven by the impetus and scientific study that we have put forth through CIM. It has proven undeniably that culture matters. And Carlos is going to share that with you later. But we wanted the world to know that it was time to reflect all. It was time to show all. It was time to be respectful of everyone and celebrate all cultures. So in September 2019, we launched See All, the first day of Ad Week in New York City, and we took over Times Squares. Over 20 digital billboards lit up at 8:30 in the morning during what was then rush hour traffic. I'm not sure what 8:30 in the morning, unfortunately, looks like right now in New York. But at that time, Times Square was full of people looking up at the billboards and getting the message to see all. A message sent to Madison Avenue that it was time to reflect, value, and celebrate all people. For those who didn't get to see the billboards in Times Square, we also placed a letter in the New York Times and Ad Week, signed by dozens of CMOs and senior executives in the industry, that included a manifesto that started with, "We believe more than ever, consumers now expect to be seen, to be reflected, to be respected. Brands can make lasting, meaningful connections by doing more than just scratching the surface." It ended with, "It's time to make a commitment to hashtag See All. See all of us, who we are, and who we can be to you. Join AIMM and join hashtag See All." A powerful letter that impacted the industry and brought the leaders together for the first time under the umbrella of this particular hashtag. Today, the message of See All, celebrates all, reflect all, and stereotype none is more necessary than ever. With more than half of consumers identifying as multicultural today and only 5% of marketing dollars dedicated to reaching them, there is a clear need for change. AIMM is proud of its compelling legacy that provides a powerful voice to multicultural and inclusive marketing. By rallying the industry together in a way that no one else has, AIMM is mobilizing a movement that brings us out of our comfort zone and into a world of holistic cultural representation and depiction. That's because AIMM understands that the root of purpose are people, and people are what drive businesses forward. With this in mind, the Alliance's efforts stand behind the Global Growth Council commitment to B for H. Because today it's not about B2B or B2C that matters, but brands for humans, when connections are strengthened through the relevance of culture. As we consider the diversity of our nation, the greatness of our people, and the resilience of diverse segments, we developed this video in partnership with our agency member, Lopez Negrete. This is our latest call to action for marketers to join us in our commitment to #SeeAll. This message was shared with the industry for the first time at the ANA Masters Conference, so you might have been there. It's a powerful message of inclusion that needs to be told time and time again. Here you go.
When we look at America, what do we see?
Do we see only what we're ready to see? Or do we see what must be seen?
Yes, the time has come for us to look far more closely and see a new reality that is shaping America.
To realize that nothing is as it was.
The change isn't coming. The change is happening now.
That there is a new America brimming with diverse consumers who are empowered,
Inspired and energized.
and while they are shaping our culture and society,
They are also watching us.
with expectant eyes and hearts to deliver that honest reflection.
That sincere invitation.
Our brands and enterprises affect popular culture and touch consumers' lives in so many ways.
Are we ready to connect with diverse consumers with relevance and authenticity, regardless of how they look
Who they love?
Pray to.
or come from?
Diversity is beyond skin deep.
It transcends color and language.
It is alive in our culture.
History, heritage, in our journey as human beings.
It is what makes us, us. While we celebrate our diversity, we also must celebrate the things that bind us together as a society.
And which we cherish as participating members of the great American story.
It's time to dig deep into the wells of knowledge, understanding, empathy, fairness, and generosity.
To become both a source for growth and a source for good in all the communities we serve and operate in.
It's time to inject participation and representation into our strategies of diversity and inclusion.
So that we may finally and fully unleash the richness and relevance multicultural professionals bring to our organizations and to the creative value chain. It's time to open our minds.
It's time to widen our lens.
It's time to grow.
It's time to see all.
If not us, then who? If not now, then when?
At AIMM, our message of inclusion has gone beyond our marketing and advertising industries. Last year, we sent a strong message to Hollywood. We put an ad in the Hollywood Reporter and talked about the fact that we wanted to place our ads in programming that was inclusive. To emphasize our position, we made it clear that moving forward, when investing our media dollars in programs and networks, that we are committed to evaluating the diversity of race, identity, ability, culture, and age of talent, and how these individuals are being portrayed. We came together to commit to supporting programs that support, celebrate, and accurately portray all people, and to not invest in programming that does the opposite. The letter was signed by 65 CMOs and senior executives committed to putting their money where their mouth is. We also produced a powerful spot starting some of America's greatest celebrities, including Lin-Manuel Miranda, Billy Porter, Daniel Day Kim, Isis King, Jamie Chung, and Nicole Scherzinger. It was produced by Walton Isaacson, one of AIMM's strongest contributors. And I just, in the interest of time, I'm just going to play this spot for you. Oops, my apologies.
We are here. We are here.
We appreciate the dialogue.
We see the effort from Hollywood, but we need more.
We are here.
We've been here.
And in the morning, I'm blessed to possess breath.
I will still be here.
If you see me in this industry, your active bias doesn't exist.
Would you rather breathe life into stereotypes?
Or stand up against them.
Because what I know of my culture isn't who you portray me to be.
So show me all of me.
Not just who you really me to be. See me.
We are more than a splash of color on your white canvas.
Hear me.
We're not your quota, we are quotable.
Show me me.
Not your me.
Me. I am not asking.
And no, I'm not leaving.
We've been here.
But don't just see us.
Stand with ANA's AIMM.
Let us come together so that we can create waves of change.
It's time to see all.
A powerful message sent to all. Again, it's with CIM standing behind everything we do. So with that in mind, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Carlos Santiago, who will talk to you more about CIM, the Cultural Insights Impact Measure.
Thank you, and good morning or good afternoon to all of you today. As Lisette mentioned, in order to see all and in order to deliver to that manifesto, we created CIM, the Cultural Insights Impact Measure, to fill a void in our industry because we didn't have a tool that would measure the potential value of culture and brand growth. So CIM now serves as a bridge tool along the marketing process to reduce unintended bias and achieve greater authenticity and resonance in brand communications as well as content. Excuse me for 1 second. My presentation is not moving. To date, CIM has been embraced by over 125 brands, and it has been put to test in more than 80,000 ad evaluations from respondents across all segments and 20 categories that we couldn't even fit on this page. This month alone, through our current CIM trial promotion, we have added over 25 brands and 65 spots to that measure. And CIM has empirically proven that we all have what we all have witnessed in our careers, that consumers connect with brands more deeply when they perceive their culture, race, identity, and abilities reflected genuinely.
Having two kids on autism spectrum,
let's explore some some ads that performed as best in culture and some ads that did not. We'll play along these creatives and then we'll talk a little bit about them. Let's go ahead, Lisette.
Having two kids on autism spectrum can be a complete challenge, and it's such a beautiful challenge.
Why?
SJ has a big personality. We always say that he loves so hard. Transitions are extremely hard for SJ. There's a huge transition coming up in SJ's life. He is going to kindergarten. He has a lot of anxiety about just leaving us in general, and we won't be able to be there. SJ likes anything that's soft and fuzzy because it brings him comfort. I hope sending these touch and feel stickers in his lunch pail will be a way for him to feel comfort and know that Mama loves him. What matters on that first day is that he feels loved. Thank you.
I love you.
I love you.
What an amazing ad, no? Let's go to the next and then we'll talk about them.
Are you tired of pretzels not being Pop-Tarts toaster pastries? Are you struggles to snack? Pop-Tarts fix that for you. Fix that for you. From ho-hum to so yum. Pop-Tarts pretzel is the perfect combo of sweet and salty, filled with cinnamony sugar. All in a revolutionary toaster-ready shape. It's a pretzel, but better because it's from Pop-Tarts. Let them change your life.
Yeah, this ad, in contrast to the first one, the first ad scored extremely well across all audiences, especially white, non-Hispanic, and people with disabilities. And it captured the essence of that family with a child that we give all to, no? The second ad didn't perform as well, and we can talk later with Gail a little bit about it, but it lacked it could have gone further than just inclusion to resonate with all consumers, even though it included an LGBTQ celebrity. So let's play now a couple of the Procter & Gamble ads.
Achieve long-lasting scalp relief, wrap your hair in moisture, and get the royal treatment your crown deserves. With the new Royal Oils collection from Head & Shoulders, respect the crown.
Can't guard me, I'm telling you. Hello, sir. Doing a little sporting, I see.
Dad, not cool.
You know it's not uncool? Old Spice After Hours. It whisks sweat away into the night with
So in this last pair of ads from Procter & Gamble, we saw the first ad to really use respect as the cultural attribute that drove this ad to the top quartile. And with the P&G Old Spice, as you know from its main character, it's typically an over-the-top personality that has performed really well through its campaign across all segments. So the brand sought to go deeper with the African-American target, but the ad didn't perform as well as expected, and the team has gone through qualitative to understand further what did they did right and what they could have done better. Probably the reflection of the father, the main character as a father, could have expanded in a more genuine way. So
having two kids on
the formula to attain cultural relevance on the next slide requires communications to obviously start with inclusion, but it takes so much more to pass consumers' expectations for authenticity. We developed a predictive cultural construct of a dozen or so attributes as the one shown here, indicating the most crucial ones, determining high relevance and impact. Consumers go from a transactional relationship with ads to a deep connection as they feel that the ads respect their culture through authentic portrayals, good role models, and positive reflections of who and how they are. They take notice when they are celebrated naturally and when ads make them feel proud of their essence through the richness of their cultural values and their identities. When ads reflect these cultural elements, brands create a strong harmony and affinity with consumers that lift ads' results. Let's play this other best in culture ad that score at the top with all segments.
It's not playing. Here we go.
Her eyes make the stars look like they're not shining. Her hair falls perfectly without her trying. She's so beautiful, and I tell her every day. When I see your face, there's not a thing that I would change, 'cause you're amazing, just the way you are.
Thank you, Lisette. Ad effectiveness from recommendation, gathering more information, and brand opinion are closely correlated with the perceived level of cultural relevance as measured by CIM scores. Most importantly, ads rated with the highest cultural relevance, those ranking in the top CIM quartile, show an average 3 times higher purchase intent than ads ranking in the bottom quartile. This has been consistent since our 2019 pilot. Having said that, the perceived level of cultural relevancy has an immediate impact on sales potential with ads even in the third quartile, showing a 50% advantage. Ads from the bottom, ads ranking in the second quartile, generating 170% advantage in purchase intent. And as I said, those in the top quartile increasing purchase intent by 228%. Furthermore, last year we went beyond purchase intent and validated SIM's impact on actual sales through a sales attribution study of 8 categories, where we found that cultural relevance as measured by SIM scores together with specific segment purchase intent is a significant indicator of an ad sales impact, explaining 40% of the ad performance. So let me know if you would like to partner with us to expand this attribution validation with more brands and categories this quarter. A little bit of behind the curtain on SIM's methodology. SIM tests every single ad against all the consumer segments in the marketplace. We generate scores that are for each of the segments. Traditionally, in a standard way, we develop scores for white non-Hispanic, African-American, and Hispanic English media viewers, in addition to a total market weighted SIM score that perfectly represents all the segments as they are in the population at large. And you can have augments specifically to any segment that you want, other segments that you may want, like LGBTQ or people with disabilities. Our methodology is a forced exposure format. So consumers don't get to pick the ads. We present them in random order, but to all the segments, as I mentioned. So the outputs are with discrete measure to the major segments, and other segments are available also to be augmented. We can test ads in any stage, from animatics to as aired final ads. We are also testing all types of spots, mostly from video in broadcast and digital, almost 50-50 of that, as well as we have begun testing audio and social media campaigns. You can submit your ad and get in the field and get your results within 2 to 4 weeks, depending on how many augments, specialized augments you may need. And as this arrow reflects at the top of the page, the scores range from 0 to 200, with 200 being the highest cultural relevance score that an ad can get, and 0 being the lowest, meaning that they are either offensive or not representative at all of the culture. And 100 is the point of neutrality, where it's neither offensive nor culturally relevant. Those, the legend on the left side gives you the deepest green is the top quartile. And as you can see, for this example, the ad on the first column ranked top quartile with all groups, with all segments, with some of them, the norms. We compared to 4 norms from the category, the industry, the creative approach, the target segment, and all SIM universe ads. So how are marketers incorporating SIM? And Gail will go through how they are incorporating SIM in their process, in the Kellogg's process in more detail. But overall, advertisers are already setting brand performance benchmarks by segment that are very different, because every segment has a different equity with every brand. They're applying cultural insights then from briefs to final executions. The creative agencies are discovering cultural insights that drive cultural relevance, and they're also testing concepts to maximize the impact for advertisers. Media planning agencies are incorporating SIM's cultural relevance along with reach and ROI modeling for media optimizers. And media networks are also incorporating sim show scores as they develop additional characters and new shows. Again, on the month of January until the end of the month, we have extended a promotional trial offer, and we are super excited. This brings 40% discount to all of you for up to 3 ads per company. We'll give you the details of that at the end of this session. Thank you very much, and I'll pass it on to Gail to take us through her journey at Kellogg's.
Thanks, Carlos. Thanks for the introduction. And I really wanted to thank Carlos and Gilbert and Lisette and Meg for the important work they're leading in the industry and for inviting me to share our journey today. You know, I was very proud to join the AIMM pledge and to support work like CIM, because I think having the industry work together on our approach to building more inclusive marketing is the key to success. And, you know, I'm really honored to join the advisory board, the AIMM advisory board. But anyway, today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our journey. And CIM has been an important tool, and it's a facet of what we've been doing, but I'll talk to you a little bit about the approach that we've been taking at Kellogg. And it's really a holistic approach, and it's something that we've been communicating broadly, actually, the past year and a half. And it's around our people, our go-to-market strategy, which I'm going to do a double click into today and talk to you about where CIM fits in, but also about our commitment to working with organizations like AIMM and our partners, agencies, and platform partners to really make these changes embedded in the industry, because it's no one company can lead this work. We need to work together. So really excited to be part of this. If we go to the next slide, I can double click a bit on our go-to-market strategy. And this is kind of where the rubber meets the road. It's where you know, we have to act. It's not just talk. And one of the key tenets here is to build a cross-functional team, a very strong cross-functional team. And as we know, as part of the AIMM pledge, we talk about engaging our you know, employee resource groups and the community that is our employees. And we've done that at Kellogg, and it's a really important part of our go-to-market strategy, because it offers us great resource as we go on this journey to make our marketing more inclusive. We've also, and why I'm here today, really leveraged CIM as a tool and a rallying cry to help us with an independent assessment of our creative, and to help us begin the conversation of how do we improve what we're doing, because we always want to be doing better and be more reflective of our consumers and our customers. And we've done a lot of other things I'll talk about just briefly today, because I'm here to focus on CIM, but it's important to understand that there's no one thing you can do to bring about these changes. It's really the combination of these things together. But we've been looking at our media composition and benchmarking. And again, it's not as simplistic as just buying audience. It's a lot more complex than that, I would say. We've done a lot of work, as I'm sure many of you have this year, to evolve our brand safety guidelines and to align with GARM, the Global Alliance for Responsible Media, as they tackle this important issue, and done a lot to bring external perspectives into the company with education. A webinar we did earlier this year called Meeting the Moment it was about equipping our marketers with tools and frameworks for making decisions in real time, which we're all being asked to do. But if I go to the next slide, I'll kind of walk you through our journey with CIM. So we were part of the pilot to validate CIM and have been involved from the beginning, but I'm so happy to see the vast database that we can draw upon as a community, as a marketing community, with everybody participating. But we're just getting started in our journey. And I think it's important to understand that, as much progress as we've made in sort of incorporating some of these things into our marketing practices, we're still just at the beginning. We did test and started with our TV creative and put a number of pieces into market. And through the end of last year, really worked to validate it and understand the results. I think something that's really critical, as I've learned, and as we've come together as a marketing organization, is ensuring that our insights and analytics experts are really part of this journey with us. So simply saying that we want to work with a new measurement metric, I'm sure you can all appreciate, it doesn't just happen overnight. And there are lots of questions. By really working closely with our ANA community and going on this journey with them. And again, it wasn't just something we threw over the transom and said, have a few meetings and figure it out. We had our cross-functional team, marketing leads, our experience planning leads, and our ANA community really working with the AIMM organization, with the CIM metric, and truly understanding it. Once we felt we had good understanding, and I think it's always good to anticipate people's questions before you go into a meeting with hundreds of marketers, because of course there'll be a lot, we shared the results more broadly to our marketing community. And as we did that, as you can imagine, there were a lot of questions. We had prepared for many of those questions, but we also indicated the need to do individual brand team workshops to really understand the specific learnings around each piece of creative. I think that's another important highlight, is that there is no, Carlos has given us a framework and AIMM has given us a framework, CIM gives us a framework, but it's not a checklist, and it certainly doesn't encompass everything you're doing. So it's really critical that we not only have the conversation around CIM and the learning, but that we incorporate our other business priorities and objectives. And so that's what those workshops are scheduled to do, and those are underway now. And then, we're really kind of building this into our ways of working. So again, rather than having separate meetings about CIM or any other benchmark or metric, we're really trying to ensure that as we consider media mix modeling, that we include this conversation together. And we've actually seen a correlation in these results with our MMM. So I think that's been kind of an interesting learning. And I'll talk a touch about that because it impacts creative effectiveness. So what have we learned? If we go to the next slide, hopefully this can help you all as you incorporate CIM and roll out this benchmark. Super important to not only involve a cross-functional team, but establish a cross-functional leadership team in this area, which we've done. And that encompasses all specialties and disciplines. And while that can be unwieldy, I mean, it's a large group, I think we all share the common goal of improving, and that's been very powerful. We also took a fair amount of time thinking about how to introduce this metric to the organization. We felt it was very important to integrate to other forums. So not just add it to people's workloads, but integrate it. And there's still work to do there, but making sure that we could drive understanding and have those conversations. The other, I think, as I look at this list, important piece is around deciding which metrics to focus on. Like any good plan and strategy, you can't do everything well. And that's where brand objectives, goals, marketplace realities, etc. get incorporated. CIM is a great conversation starter. It's a great dialogue generator. It's a great learning tool, but it will not answer all your questions, and it certainly won't be the answer to your growth entirely. So you have to look at this as a piece and really be clear on how you're prioritizing those cultural metrics as it pertains to your business challenge, your growth objectives, et cetera. So you can't do it all. And I think that's really important. And then, the continuous learning is probably something we've all heard endlessly during this COVID era, but it's something extremely core to the way I think about life and marketing in general. But, what can we learn from what performed well and what didn't? Again, there's no simple checklist here. And then, create plans, action plans. What other opportunities do we have to test? I love that we're going to be able to test more in other channels. As I said, we focused on our TV creative first, but there's so much more we could be doing, particularly as we're all doing more real-time organic content. And then if I go to the next slide, I quickly mentioned Carlos shared this correlation between, cultural relevance and business goals and performance. And we obviously see that creative effectiveness in our MMM models is so critical to our performance. So it's not surprising that there's a correlation here, but I think this will help us build even better creative, because I've really driven an overall focus. If you're like me, there's only so much we're going to gain through better buying and efficiency. And it really is this era of creating marketplace work that's driven by cultural insight, cultural relevance, and creative effectiveness. And we've been very focused on that. So having that correlation with the other measurement that's so embedded in our processes has been a critical unlock for us to really drive this forward. And then, we don't have all the answers, and we're not done on this journey, and we certainly haven't created the magic formula. But what I would say is having all of you on this journey with us is helpful to the larger community, because I think we can really learn from each other. We operate in different categories and in different marketplaces, and creative is becoming much more bespoke. So there's many opportunities for us to learn. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Carlos, and happy to answer any questions if you like.
Awesome. I think Meg is going to moderate our Q&A session.
Absolutely. So what Carlos has here, and we'll go over it in a little bit after the Q&A, is just really how to get started. And Gail did a great job showing or talking through how Kellogg's has implemented CIM within her organization. So we're going to start the Q&A portion. Luis DiComo from Unilever will go first, and go ahead, Luis, whenever you're ready.
Hello, everybody, and thank you so much, and great session. My question is to you, Gail. First of all, amazing how you are leading this in your company. And the question is much more related to the external agency network, and how do you bring together the creative agencies, the measurement agencies, and the external ecosystem that you need to drive as well on top of your alignment internally?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it goes back to that cross-functional team and the old communicate. So we have made this a priority, as I mentioned, over the past year and a half with our agencies, with our external partners. And we've created some internal benchmarks and goals in terms of performance with our inclusive creative. And we've communicated that broadly to our agencies. And to be candid, we've invited them on the journey with us to learn, because this is not a moment in time, as we know. It's a moving very quickly, and we can all learn together. So as we're rolling out CIM, as we're having these brand workshops, it really is that one team priority. As I said, when you get 20 people in the room talking about creative, it can be overwhelming. So it's important to have the right senior level of leadership in those meetings, so that we don't devolve into a group of many opinions and we don't get action. So I would say have somebody senior at those workshops, but that's how we've been doing it.
Fantastic, thank you.
Great. Now we have Greg Ravel from Kohl's. Go ahead, Greg. Okay, I will ask it on behalf of Greg. Can you share Gail, can you elaborate on what you're learning from mixed market modeling about these efforts?
Well, what we did is, as you can imagine, that drives a lot of our work, and we did a quick correlation, and I'm saying we've just gotten started here, but as we tried to correlate SIM and media mix modeling, we are seeing a correlation. And so we're feeling, in particular about creative effectiveness and cultural resonance driving performance. We do feel that there's an important correlation there, and we are seeing that in our own work. And we will continue to do that, but that we did late last year.
Awesome. This is one of my questions too. Gail, what was your most, and this is from Grant Schneider, what was your most surprising result or learning from SIM?
And hi, Grant. Grant's an old friend and colleague. We used to work together. Thank you for the question. Surprising, there are many things that surprised me. I think it's not as simple as casting. We saw that in the P&G example. I think you saw that in our own example, that simply casting for cultural relevance isn't enough. You have to add a much more nuance, much more authenticity, many more clues and context. And so I don't know if it's surprising, but it's an interesting, complex thing to solve for, because there are a lot of variables. There's no one thing that's going to impact.
Next, we've got one from a mysterious anonymous attendee. Carlos, can SIM address content beyond traditional TVCs?
Yes, in fact, this year we expanded a number of shows and types of content that we are testing through SIM, and in about 8 weeks we will be sharing that publicly. But we expanded just from broadcast and cable to streaming shows that are very specialized and have a higher, I would say, very often a lot more affinity with diverse segments. In addition to that, we are also testing the YouTube personality channels and their content to understand also how those shows, those channels can enhance the connection with consumers. So we are definitely broadening 150 shows this quarter, and we will do that again later this year.
Sorry, silly phone. Next, we have a question from Eric Jackson. Eric, go ahead and ask your question for Gail. Are you ready? Or I will ask it for him.
Yeah.
We like it to be interactive, but sometimes, the coordination. Gail, knowing that most ads have iterative changes to increase their impact and relevance, was there one blind spot uncovered from SIM analysis early in the journey? Just something maybe that wasn't considered, that was a big learning?
Well, thank you, Eric, for stumping me. I can't recall a big blind spot, to be candid. And in fairness, we've gone through one round of these SIM workshops. We're in the process now. So maybe I'll do a follow-up and I'll have more to share, but I don't have anything top of mind.
Yeah, I think that at an overall level, expanding on Kellogg's and Procter & Gamble, when we looked at the 500 ads, we've learned that in many instances, the representation of diverse segments is rather flat. It's not only that there is a lack of culture, but there's a lack of oftentimes richness of the identity and what makes that consumer unique or that segment unique. So oftentimes represent them in ways that are more alike the white non-Hispanic segment, that really put the spotlight in depth, in it really deeply in their own uniqueness, as we saw in the autism ad from Bryce Crispy's Bar. So the opportunity to really reflect consumers in a more authentic way, I think it's a great opportunity for the entire industry to really bring the scores, and by doing so, bringing the opportunity for sales growth available to everyone.
I think one thing, Carlos, I would build on that in terms of team is that requires us, in my opinion, to have diverse agency teams, diverse marketing teams, media teams. So really that brings that holistic strategy, that it's not simply test or creative, do something better. It's really more holistic than that. And so really encourage everybody to make sure there's representation in their agencies, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lisette, I don't know if you want to expand a little bit on the pledge and what we are trying to do with that holistic strategy.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I just wanted to share before I go into and share about the pledge, that as you get scores for CIM for various segments, right? You might have a spot that your primary target is white non-Hispanic, for example, and you have marketers in the past who may have said, oh, I don't know that I feel comfortable targeting white non-Hispanics in general market as my primary audience, right? Well, you're going to get scores for not only your primary target, but for others as well, which will give you a sense of feeling of comfort and knowing how you're doing with all segments, so that you can then in turn, if there's something that may be offensive to another group when you're targeting one, you can either fix it or have your communications be proactive instead of reactive to why you decided to move forward as a company to target that segment, right? So it gives you really important information to make decisions on all fronts, because of the fact that you're getting information from all segments. We find that a lot with the LGBTQ segment, where people are like, oh, I don't want to alienate my general market by targeting LGBTQ. Well, you know what? You don't need to alienate that segment. A lot of companies have moved forward with that. They've done an amazing job with spots that have been inspirational, not only to the LGBTQ segment, but to other segments as well. Then Carlos, going to addressing your statement on the pledge, and Gail, you mentioned having been a signature on the pledge, and thank you for that. We had over 600 executives, CMOs, and heads of divisions sign the pledge when we launched it in July this past year, as a response to Black Lives Matter marches. We wanted to go beyond stating that Black Lives Matter, because of course we all believe that. We wanted to lead the industry in a direction where we could move towards a place that was more inclusive, more respectful. And with this in mind, we created a pledge with 7 pillars that we've been working on to ensure that we help companies guide their progress, understand where they are in the industry compared to other companies. So we are very proud of the work that we're doing on the pledge. We will be creating a maturity model for our companies to follow this year, and we will also be creating an index that will let companies know again where they stand in against others. The index will share those best in class. It will not be punitive in any way, but it will indeed share those that are best in class doing great work when it comes to diversity and inclusion, and not only externally as far as their outputs, but internally as far as a representation of segments throughout their corporate structure.
We have 2.5 more questions, so we're going to try to zip through them. So, Anne Julie, you're up next. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So anyway, first of all, thank you. This has been amazingly helpful, and helpful in a very practical and tangible way, because obviously from a philosophical perspective, you can believe in all of these things, but knowing how to apply it to your team, your business, your culture, a little tougher. So first of all, I just want to express thanks. And I also want to acknowledge, I'm not surprised to see Gail playing this role as a former client. So that's terrific. I guess, so often those of us who work for these large global agencies and these large global clients see our CMOs facing pressure to develop some global synergies and efficiencies, while also be able to generate local relevance that drives local sales. And I'm wondering how Gail or others are reconciling the need to probably do both, right? And whether this is something that you see AIMM potentially taking on, given how many of your body are, companies that operate in North America as part of a larger global construct.
I think that's a question for Carlos, but agree. Thanks, Anne. I agree with the question and the challenge there.
Absolutely, and thank you for the question. And we are about to field a pilot in Mexico and Canada this quarter, because we know we have gotten many requests to expand our vision of this measure around the globe. So we're going to start with the easy ones. Those ANA and AIMM members that have businesses in Mexico and Canada are welcome to let us know and maybe donate some ads for the test that we'll subsidize to some extent. Followed by that, we'll expand in the next quarter to Europe and then Asia. So our plan is to, by September, have covered all the regions of the globe. So very exciting. As I think the key is going to be to maintain the integrity of the measure by being truly representative to all the populations, all the audiences of those segments, that in many cases, we target those countries with a socioeconomic prism rather than with a demographic prism, as we are doing with CIMM in the United States. So indigenous people, audiences of different religions, we need to ensure that are properly weighted in our measure.
Thank you.
No, I was just going to add that when we created the CIMM measure, we wanted to make sure that we didn't impose our perception of culture on other people. We wanted the panelists that were answering the questions to answer based on what they perceive their culture to be. So when we ask about, does this spot celebrate your culture? We're not telling them what that celebration of culture is, right? And because of the fact that those questions are particular to any person and their perception of their own identity, that this is a measure that can be used globally, right? We're not telling them, because you're Hispanic, you're going to want X, Y, and Z. Because you're Black, you're going to want X, Y, and Z, and so on. We're asking them what their perception of who they are is and how that spot reflects that. And that in turn turns into a measure that works globally very effectively.
Excellent. Thank you. And of course, our final question is the most loaded. What is your best advice for helping brands to authentically portray diversity without overreaching or ticking a box or just merely casting diverse actors?
Well,
with 30 seconds left, go.
Yeah, it's that cross-functional and diverse team. It's more than just your marketers, it's your agency. It's ensuring that you have representation across that whole continuum of creation. And that goes to things like free the bid and making sure that we have diverse creators working on our creative. So that's where I went to. It's much more than a checklist or a single action. It's quite a lot, which is why, to bring it back to AIMM and what the ANA is doing, it's so helpful to have the industry around this, because we need to make these changes more systematically. So thanks. Yeah. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, I also think that there's a need for educating all the teams, from brand teams to agencies, in terms of the cultural knowledge that they have, understanding what is a cultural insight, understanding what is a cultural nuance, understanding what is a cultural cue, and then being able to use it in an effective way in their creative process, as Gail mentioned. Relying on cultural experts to bring more light into those decisions, I think is something that we all need to do more of.
Great way to end it. Thank you so much, Lisette, Carlos, and Gail, for attending, and thank all of you. This is a really important issue for our industry, and we hope that you learned one of the tools and the industry standard for how you can measure relevance and diversity in your creative. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Everyone.
Thank you all.